Look, I get it. You're tired. Tired of bills that make no sense. Tired of neighbors who think lawn care is a competitive sport. Tired of a system that takes more than it gives. And somewhere between scrolling rent prices and arguing with your electric company, you've thought about it. What if I just unplugged? What if I went somewhere the grid can't reach me, where my biggest problem is chopping firewood instead of deciphering my cable bill? Here's the thing nobody tells you. Off-grid living isn't escaping reality. It's choosing a different reality, one where you control your power, your water, your life. But not all off-grid towns are created equal. Some are accidents of geography, others are intentional experiments in freedom, and a few are just places where people said enough and built something better. Today, we're counting down 10 American towns where people live off-grid not because they have to, but because they refuse to live any other way. Subscribe to GlobeWist because knowing where you can actually disconnect might change everything. Let's dive in. Number 10. Slab City, California. There's a place in California where the government gave up, the grid gave out, and people said, perfect, we'll take it from here. Slab City sits in the Sonoran Desert on the concrete foundations of an abandoned Marine base. It's not a city. It's a philosophical experiment held together with tarps, talent, and deep distrust of utility bills. They call it the last free place in America. That's not branding, that's a warning. No building codes, no zoning, no law enforcement unless they're called. You want something, you build it. You need something, you trade for it. Population zero officially, maybe a few hundred unofficially. Rent? Free. Running water? Haul it yourself. The state technically owns the land but has zero interest in managing it. It's a legal no man's land. People live in RVs, school buses, earthbag domes, whatever keeps out dust. Power comes from solar panels or generators. Internet is spotty at best. Most people don't bother. This isn't off-grid life. This is off everything. The art district called East Jesus looks like Burning Man met Mad Max. The range hosts Saturday night concerts. There are neighborhoods, rules, even a community board. In a place with no laws, that's something. Slab City doesn't scare people away. It just makes them really honest about whether they actually want freedom or just like complaining about rent. Number 9. Iowa Hill, California. Iowa Hill is the only place in California where solar panels aren't an upgrade, they're the electrical company. This gold rush town from the 1850s never got around to plugging in. Now, about 200 people live here without electrical service from PG and E. Not optional, not ideological, just not available. Everyone runs their own systems. Solar plus batteries, backup generators, very intimate relationships with watt hours. Water comes from local wells and rain catchment. Waste goes to septic tanks and composting toilets. Heat? Wood stoves, propane, and persistence. Trash you drive out yourself along the same winding death trap road that brought you in. The beautiful part is Iowa Hill isn't anti-government. They just don't rely on it. Placer County technically governs, but you won't find much enforcement up here. No building inspectors hiking into the forest to scold someone for creative plumbing. Property rights, zoning flexibility, and no utility regulation because there's no utility. Population, approximately 200. Median home price, $250,000 to $350,000. Grid power access, 0%. Crime rate low unless you count wild animals stealing boots. Emergency services 30 to 40 minutes out if the road's passable. This is what happens when the government isn't obstructing you. It's just absent, for better and worse. No red tape, but also no lifeline. Number 8. Eco Village at Ithaca, New York. Some people move off-grid to escape HOA rules. These people built an off-grid HOA on purpose. Eco Village at Ithaca is what happens when you mix permaculture with zoning permits and somehow get it approved. Built on a 175-acre former farmstead outside Ithaca, this is master planned, legally recognized community where people choose to live simply and document it in spreadsheets. Most homes are grid-tied, but many are net zero or off-grid capable. Ultra-insulated homes, passive solar design, rainwater harvesting, communal food production, shared electric vehicles. It's not a survivalist bunker. It's intentional infrastructure designed to work with the system while needing it less. Here's the wild part. They didn't run from government oversight. They worked with it and won. In partnership with the town, they helped rewrite zoning laws to allow cluster housing, ecological design, and shared facilities. They even helped create an eco-municipality designation in New York State. These folks lobbied for better rules, not fewer. Now they build homes with composting toilets and solar panels and still qualify for real mortgages. Approximately 230 residents across 3 neighborhoods, housing $250,000 to $400,000 per home. Utilities 60 to 70% solar powered. Walkability extremely high. Crime rate hilariously low. The wildest scandal here? Someone used a plastic fork at potluck. Number 7. Breitenbush, Oregon. Imagine a town so committed to off-grid living that power, heat, and water all come from boiling earth. Breitenbush sits deep in Oregon's Willamette National Forest, 2 hours from Portland and a light year away philosophically. This isn't a survivalist bunker. It's a functioning village of peace-loving, wood-stacking, hot springs soaking humans who decided we don't need the grid, we've got geothermal energy and a shared calendar. Yes, they have meetings, yes, they grow kale, and yes, they're completely self-sufficient. Electricity 100% hydro-powered, generated on-site by a Pelton wheel turbine, running off the glacier-fed Breitenbush River. Heat comes from geothermal, tapping directly into natural hot springs. Zero fossil fuels needed, water sourced, filtered, and pressurized on-site. Waste goes to septic systems and composting toilets maintained by residents. Wi-Fi? Nope. This is where smartphones die and reincarnate as journals. Year-round population? Approximately 60 full-time residents. Visitor population? Pre-2020, up to 150 daily. No rent, but residents work 40 hours weekly in exchange for housing, food, and governance rights. Grid power usage? 0%. Nearest hospital? An hour away. Crime rate so low it's statistically unrecorded unless you count arguments about towel folding. Breitenbush exists on federal land under long-term lease with the U.S. Forest Service. They don't own the land but negotiated a self-governance model. So while they engage with government for land use and fire safety, they collectively manage all infrastructure and enforce community norms through internal policy. Number 6. Earthhaven Eco Village, North Carolina. This town didn't accidentally go off-grid. It audited modern society and fired it. Earthhaven sits tucked into the Blue Ridge Mountains about 40 minutes from Asheville. Off-grid living here isn't rebellion or survival, it's policy. Founded mid-1990s, it's an intentional community built to answer one question. Can people live well long-term without centralized utilities? Unlike others that fizzled, Earthhaven said, cool idea, now let's add structure. Power comes from off-grid solar microsystems, shared and private. Water from gravity-fed springs, rain catchment, and strict use rules. Waste goes to composting toilets and graywater gardens. Zero sewer connection. Food from on-site permaculture farms plus community labor. Housing uses natural buildings. Timber frame, straw bale, cob. This isn't DIY chaos. It's intentional engineering. Earthhaven operates as a land trust and HOA under North Carolina law. They follow county rules when required, but negotiated legal carve-outs for alternative systems like compost toilets and off-grid power. Translation: they didn't fight the system, they learned it, then bent it. No utility bills, no grid dependency, but still legally recognized. Population approximately 70 to 100 residents. Buy-in costs $15,000 to $30,000 membership plus build costs. Monthly expenses low but labor heavy. Time replaces money. Grid power usage 0%. Crime rate effectively 0. Earthhaven proves something uncomfortable. Off-grid living isn't cheaper, it's different. You don't swipe a card, you show up to meetings. You don't call maintenance, you are maintenance. Number 5. Paulville, Texas. Once upon a time in Texas, people tried building utopia without government, taxes, or public utilities. What they got was Paulville. This off-grid town is America's most ambitious freedom fantasy that never quite made it past the loading screen. Founded in 2008 by Ron Paul supporters, the vision was buy land, build homes, power our own lives, never rely on government again. They bought 50 acres of raw Texas land near Van Horn, called it Paulville, promised parcels for fellow freedom lovers. The pitch was simple: no building codes, no utility hookups, no taxes beyond state and property, no interference. Just land, solar panels, wells, and dreams of total autonomy. Some people showed up. But here's what nobody tells you about zero governance. It works until something breaks. Water system fails? That's on you. Need a road graded? Hope your neighbors are into diesel-powered charity. Disagree over boundary lines? No HOA, no court, no appeal. Just dirt, rifles, and vibes. Paulville didn't collapse, it just never fully took off. Interest fizzled. No communal systems, no shared infrastructure, no follow-through. Today, there's no functioning community, no street signs. Just wide, dry desert and a dream that didn't scale. Land cost back then approximately $20,000 per 5-acre parcel. Water access DIY wells or rain catchment only. Power 100% solar or generator. Grid power not available. Crime rate not enough people to have stats. Population 2023, unknown. Likely fewer than 10 permanent residents. Government presence, 0. Number 4. Greater World Earthship Community, New Mexico. This is what happens when Mad Max and Bob the Builder both go vegan and start an architecture firm. Greater World Earthship Community sits outside Taos, New Mexico. Houses built from tires, water reused 4 times, and you'll hear gray water, banana tree, and passive solar in the same sentence. This isn't off-grid by necessity or rebellion. They did it with blueprints and building codes. It's a legally zoned subdivision for radically self-sufficient homes, engineered to operate in harsh desert without needing any utilities, not even a well hookup. Every Earthship generates its own power, harvests and filters water, grows food, heats and cools itself without fuel, manages waste on site. Energy 100% off-grid solar plus thermal mass heating. Water rainwater collection plus gray water reuse. Home costs $250,000 to $500,000 depending on design. DIY builds cheaper. Sewer on-site Blackwater botanical cells. Temperature range -5 Fahrenheit in winter to 95 in summer. Earthships are built for both. This is the rare off-grid setup where government didn't just approve it, they're studying it. Earthship concept had a long battle with regulators. For years, founder Michael Reynolds fought building codes and every bureaucrat confused when he said, "My house runs on garbage." Eventually, New Mexico passed legislation allowing Earthships under specific criteria, making this the only place in the US with a zone subdivision for completely off-grid homes. Number 3. Three Rivers, Oregon. Three Rivers is where your neighbor is either a retired engineer or a goat with an attitude problem, sometimes both. One of the most quietly legendary places to live off-grid in the US. And by quietly legendary, I mean perfect mix of libertarian lean, forest weird, and just enough government absence to let you live like it's your own personal frontier. This isn't some cabin cluster. It's a private landowners association carved into Central Oregon's high desert, where the utility grid ends and DIY begins. Located in Jefferson County on the western rim of Lake Billy Chinook, it's technically unincorporated land zoned as private subdivision. But don't let subdivision fool you. No city services, no streetlights, no municipal utilities, definitely no HOA newsletter complaining about solar panels, over 4,000 privately owned lots, many without utility hookups. Power from solar, generators, maybe wind if you're lucky or stubborn. Water from rain catchment, hauled tanks, a few wells if you're lucky or magic. Waste goes to septic tanks, composting toilets, or good old-fashioned shovels and optimism. Internet satellite, cell booster, or vibes. Three Rivers operates under a unique combination of private land covenants and minimal county oversight. Local Landowners Association enforces basic road maintenance and fire access because yeah, wildfires are a thing. But house design, power system, waste management, totally up to you. Population approximately 300 full-time, 1,000 part-time. Property, 5 to 10 acre lots, range 15 to 50,000, raw land. Crime rate low, but everyone's armed? That might be why. Wildfire risk, moderate to high. Defensible space is survival, not style. Number 2. Utah Rural Homesteads. In Utah, off-grid isn't a trend. It's Tuesday. At number 2, we're breaking format. Not one town, but an entire category of places. Because in rural Utah, off-grid lifestyle isn't just accepted, it's often expected. From Red Rock valleys to alpine forests, Utah is secretly one of the best-kept havens for homesteaders, preppers, and back-to-the-landers who want space, silence, and legal wiggle room to build a cabin, dig a trench, and install a composting toilet without filing in triplicate. Utah is one of the least densely populated states. Counties like San Juan have 8,000 people and 7,900 square miles of nowhere. Wayne County technically has more cows than residents. Depending on where you go, you can snag 5 to 40 acres for under $30,000, often with no building codes, no inspections, and zoning laws that read like vague suggestions. In much of rural Utah, especially unincorporated areas, you are your own zoning board. Many counties operate under Class D building permits, which translated means don't burn the place down, otherwise, we don't care. Minimal permits required for off-grid builds. Alternative systems like solar, compost, toilets, and rain catchment often allowed by default. Water rights may be challenging, but you can legally collect rain in most zones. Fire codes and access roads are main oversight for good reason. Median land price per acre approximately $1,200 in most remote areas. Grid access 0% by default. Solar and propane dominate. Building code enforcement varies wildly. In some places, it's a handshake and head nod. Crime rate extremely low. Mostly someone stole my firewood and neighbor's goat ate my fence. Number 1. The Great Plains Edge. If there's a place to disappear in plain sight, it's not just one town, it's the edge of the map itself. At number 1, we're naming a mindset. A stretch of wild land connecting legal freedom, isolation, and just enough civilization to borrow Wi-Fi if you ask nicely. Welcome to what we're calling the Great Plains Edge, where Oregon's remote interior, Wyoming's high-altitude plateaus, and Michigan's Upper Peninsula become the holy trinity of off-grid possibility. This isn't off-grid living for cute Instagram. This is the real, raw, freeze your pipes and love it kind. Low population counties, lenient building codes, dirt cheap land, and culture that treats don't bother me like a constitutional right. Wyoming, Carbon, and Sweetwater counties have less than 2 people per square mile. Oregon, Lake, Harney, and Malheur counties offer vast, dry, sunny land perfect for passive solar. Michigan Upper Peninsula, Iron, Ontonagon, and Gogebic counties provide dense forest meets old mining ghost towns. These counties don't advertise as off-grid havens, but they also don't stop you. Enforcement is light, permitting flexible. If you build something weird but don't hurt anyone, you'll probably be left alone. That's the off-grid dream. Oregon and Wyoming both allow dry cabins, composting toilets, and solar-only builds. Michigan UP lets you live in RVs or tiny homes long-term, especially on private land. In all 3 zones, if your septic works and your house doesn't fall over, you're good. No smart meters, no HOAs, no neighbor asking why your roof is covered in used tires. Land costs $1,000 to $2,500 per acre. Population sparse, like hear a car once a day sparse. Grid access limited or intentionally avoided. Crime rate low, assuming you don't count bears. So there's the list. 10 real places where Americans chose a different path. These aren't fantasy camps or vacation spots. They're functioning communities where people wake up every day and handle their own power, water, and future. If this opened your eyes to what's actually possible, hit that like button and share it with someone who's been talking about unplugging but hasn't taken the leap. Subscribe to GlobeWist for more real content about real alternatives. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.